Welcome to the second part of the story, Uneasy Homecoming. Connie had gone to the garden and now she has come back. She is trying to comfort herself. She is feeling uneasy. There is a nagging fear in her mind, but all the time she has been trying to make herself comfortable and confident. She wanted to gasp with relief as she felt for the switch and the lights came up. So the moment she switched on the lights, okay, they worked. They won't. The dark rooms remaining were more terrifying than the night outside. And now she came back, switched on one light. So that place must have been lighted. But what about the other rooms? The lights had not been switched on. She came prior to the evening, before the evening. It was not dark then when she reached. So now other rooms look more terrifying. The rooms surrounding rooms look more terrifying. She went all over the ground floor, turning on lights, switching on the lights, and tried not to think of going upstairs. She said, okay, I'm a lonely woman. Why should I go to the upstairs, to the first floor? Okay, the rooms are lighted. There is nothing wrong. I am comfortable here. There was no one within call, and no one but the taxi driver even knew that she was here. So, fear na. Arey, the taxi driver knows that she has left me. Now, if he returns with a knife, if she kills me, if she attacks me, who would come to the rescue? Nobody would be there to save me. And anything could happen, obviously. So, again, that fear. But she didn't know of anything to cause danger either. Next moment, she, made herself feel confident once again. Connie had felt and fought occasional fear before. To bring her nameless frights into the light, to pour scorn on them, she had talked lightly in the past of the imaginary things towards which women feel such terror. There are many things which terrify lonely people. Many things. And she remembers all those things. When you are alone, you are afraid of ghosts. Papa is there in his room, Mama is there in her room. You don't feel uncomfortable. But if you are alone, you think there is some sound from the kitchen and you feel, could it be a ghost? Could it be a spirit? Could it be a thief? Could it be somebody who is trying to harm me? So all these things, ପିଲାଦିନେ ଯେତେ ସବୁ ଭୂତ ଗପ ତମେ ଶୁଣିଥିବ ତମ ମୁଣ୍ଡକୁ ସବୁ ସେଗୁଡ଼ା ଆସିବ. So now she remembers all those things which had created fear in her mind. For example, the things imagined to be hiding behind cupboards and behind dark trees in lonely streets. Somebody might be hiding behind your cupboard, but usually nobody hides behind the cupboard in your house. But such things have happened. And somebody might be hiding behind a tree. But her past scorn failed to drive her terror away now. She tried to be angry with herself because she was being as silly as the neurotic female who cannot sleep unless she looks under the bed at night. You must have heard accounts of people. She is giving the example of a woman who checks under the bed frequently, 2, 3 times, 4 times before going to bed, if somebody is hiding there. तो सेभलिया लोक भी अछंती जो माने छोट छोट जिंस अरे फियरफुल हे जानती बा गोटे दे आर न्यूरोटिक, they suffer from some mental disorder. There would be nobody but they feel as if there is somebody is chasing them, somebody is following them. एभलिया लोक भी अछंती. But Connie said, why should Why am I behaving in this way? In a silly manner, in a foolish manner. There is nobody, and I have seen nobody around me. So why unnecessarily I am getting afraid? It was an unfortunate omission. In the lighted living room, she had had the feeling of someone staring at her from the dark outside. She was there in her living room, but she felt as if somebody from outside was keeping a watch on her. But actually, there was nobody. Nobody was keeping watch. It was unbearable. She went to the telephone, absolutely certain that there was nothing wrong. Okay, if she talked to somebody, she could spend some time. When you talk to somebody, ତମେ ଥିବ କଟକରେ, ତମ ମା ଥିବେ suppose ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱରରେ, and your mommy would be saying, talk to me on the phone because you are alone. This is a dark night. You are walking alone in the street. Babu, ତୁମେ ତ କଟକରେ, ସେ ତ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱରରେ, ସେ ତ 30 କିଲୋମିଟର ଦୂରରେ. If there is something wrong, how would your mother be able to save you? But it feels confident. ଦି ଜଣ ଯାକ ଫୋନରେ ଥିଲେ confident ଲାଗେ. So ସେଥିପାଇଁ she just wanted to call somebody. She called Mrs. Winston. It was not a perfect choice. Mrs. Winston was not nearly of Connie's own age, but Connie felt so sorry for the older woman that when she needed comfort, she often instinctively called her. So she was an old lady, and whenever Connie wanted somebody to comfort her, to make her feel good, she rang up to, elderly people. They provide you comfort. They provide you confidence. Oh, you are not feeling well. Okay, very good. Oh, don't feel so bad. Life is like that. They will tell many things about life. Obviously, don't worry so much. These things happen in life, so you feel comfortable. Okay, these things happen in life. And then what's wrong if it happens in my life? Okay. So Mrs. Winston's voice was bright and cheerful over the phone. She, in a very bright and cheerful voice, she was talking. Normal, happy. Oh, my dear Connie, how nice it is that you are back with us. So you have come back. Very good. When did you reach? Oh, in the evening. Very good. Connie felt better instantly. Immediately, she felt a little better, comfortable. She felt her tension leaving her. She heard her voice explaining that she had had a lovely holiday, and Tom was also coming back the same night. Mrs. Winston said anxiously, I do hope your house is all right. ତମକୁ ଭୟ ଲାଗୁଛି? ତମେ ଘରେ ଏକୁଟିଆ ଅଛ. You ring up somebody. If I ring up to that person, if I talk to that person on telephone, I would feel more comfortable. କାହିଁକିନା ସେ ସଦାବେଳେ ମୋତେ comfort, she ensures that I feel comfortable. କିନ୍ତୁ ସିଏ କହିବେ ତୋ ଘର ସବୁ ଠିକ ଅଛି ତ? ତୁ ସେ ଡୋର ଗୁଡାକ ସବୁ ଦେଇଛୁ ତ? ସବୁ ରୁମ୍ ଗୁଡାକ ଟିକେ ଚେକ୍ କରିଦେ. କି ଚୋରି ଡକାୟତି ଯୋଡେ ମର୍ଡର 15 ଦିନ ଭିତରେ 3 ଜଣ ମର୍ଡର ହେଲେଣି. So please take care. You are feeling nervous. You are feeling weak. You are afraid. You are dreadful. So how would that person make you comfortable? She makes you more fearful. So just see, Mrs. Winston said anxiously, I do hope your house is all right. Connie said, why? Any problem? She expected to hear about someone having been unkind to Charles. Charles was Mrs. Winston's only son. He gave Connie the creeps, but she could feel very sorry for his mother. Connie did not like Charles, but Connie was very soft, very kind-hearted towards Mrs. Winston, because Mrs. Winston suffered a lot because of her son. He had a talent for getting into trouble. So this boy, this young man, he was a young man, not a boy, he created trouble most of the time for his mother. There had been trouble with a girl when he was only 16. He had been caught stealing in the school. Unnecessarily, he was involved in that stealing. He had been expelled from the college. Mrs. Winston tried to believe that he was already 20, and at 20, a large, awkward young man with an apologetic air and a look of always thinking of something else. So, how did Charles look? A little weird, a little absurd, as if most of the time he was thinking of something else. He had been punished so many times. He had been involved in petty crimes, small crimes on 3 or 4 occasions when he was a young man, when he was a school going boy, when he was a young man. He was still causing trouble to her mother. So Connie thought something might have gone wrong with him. He might have caused some more trouble for Mrs. Winston. Mrs. Winston's voice went on explaining, and the feeling of terror came back upon Connie like a blow. So, see, Mrs. Winston informed Connie a few things. What did she inform her? There had been a series of burglaries in the town, dacoities, burglaries, thefts. The Hamilton's house had been robbed. Things were stolen away. Thieves had entered his house and stolen away things. While they were out for an evening's cards, card is a game. So they were in the club playing some game, and in the meantime, the house had been robbed. Mr. Blair's house was looted when the family was away. The Smithsons, the Tonys, and Sadlers, their shops were robbed. And the burglars seemed to know exactly where Mr. Sadler kept the day's receipts and took them. Exactly where Mr. Sadler kept his day's receipts and took them, and the tray of watches and fountain pens and cameras. So, over the last 15 days, there had been quite a large number of thefts and burglaries in the locality. Shops had been looted, houses had been looted, and it was as if a person who knew exactly where these people kept their valuable things, they had stolen, they had committed these robberies. And poor Mr. Field was ancient cashier at Sadler's. Sadler's is the name of the shop. He had interrupted the burglars and they had beaten him horribly, leaving him for dead. Right? So when uh, Mr. Field interfered, the burglars had beaten him very harshly, very hard. He had never regained consciousness since then. He had become instantaneously unconscious, and it was not believed now at the hospital that he would ever. What is the meaning of that? And he was not going to regain consciousness. He had fallen unconscious, and he was not going to regain consciousness. He was not going to get back his sense either. So, I mean, he was going to die. Connie said from a dry throat. So, when Connie heard this, एकରେ ତ ତାକୁ ଭୟ ଲାଗୁଥିଲା, ତାପରେ ତମେ କହିବ ଏତେ ଗୁଡେ ବର୍ଗଲାରି ହେଇଯାଇଛି, ଚୋରି ହେଇଯାଇଛି, ଏକୁଟିଆ ଲୋକଙ୍କ ଘରୁ ଏମିତି ଚୋରି, ଘରେ କିଏ ନଥିଲା ବେଳେ ଚୋରି. So just go and make sure that your doors and windows are closed, shut. So Connie said from a dry throat, I wish you had not told me that tonight. Madam, why did you tell me all these things? At least you should not have told me tonight. At this moment, एकରେ तो मते भय लागुची आपण जहा कहलेनी सेतरे I am more fearful. Tom would be back. Tom won't be back until midnight. My husband would come back only towards midnight. And when you are telling me that so many robberies have taken place, so many thefts have taken place, how would I feel? Right? But my dear, Mrs. Winston exclaimed, you must not. I will find Charles and get him to come to you right away. Don't worry at all. There is nothing to worry. I am sending Charles. और चार्ल्स को देखिदेले को कोनी की भारी भल लगी जाइथांता कि से कोनी से नो 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 प्लीज डोंट डू दैट you can spend the evening here, come back, so come with, I'm sending Charles to fetch you from there, come here, and when your husband comes back he will go and drop you there. Connie shook her head at the telephone. No, 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 that would be silly. No, no, don't send anybody, I don't want to go. She heard her voice refusing. Her mind protested against the refusal, but Charles made her flesh crawl. She could not bear to think of him driving her through the darkness. She was not at all comfortable with Charles. So she said, no, I am not at all comfortable. So there is no question of allowing myself to be driven by, to be taken by, to be, taken to their house by Charles. Charles, I am not allowing him to take me there. No way. Terror without foundation was bad enough. So with the kind of fear that she had in her mind, that was without any foundation. Why she was feeling terrible that evening, there was no reason. But you dislike somebody, you hate somebody, how can you give him company? How can you go with him? So that was something she was not going to do. I am quite all right, she insisted. Quite. I do hope Mr. Phil gets better, but I am all right. There is no problem. When she hung up the phone, she was aware that she felt sick, but it was startling to discover that her knees were physically weak when she started to move from the instrument. So from the very, since the evening that day, she was feeling very uncomfortable. There was a fear in her mind. There was a kind of restlessness about her. After she heard so many accounts of robberies and thefts that had taken place in the area, she found that her knees had become very weak. Her legs were not able to carry her. Why this? Because of the fear. She has become more fearful now. But Mrs. Winston would be offended and take it as an insult. And Connie was still sure that her fear was quite unreasonable. It was just a feeling. But she once again tried to comfort herself. She moved aimlessly away from the telephone, found herself at the foot of the stairs. Then she looked up at the dark above and wanted to cry. A large number of stairs, a flight of stairs was there to go to the upper floor, the first floor. She was still there on the ground floor, and a number of flights were there. She had to take the flights to go to the number of steps. And she had to take the steps to go to the first floor. And all the rooms were completely dark. Because she switched on the lights on the first floor only. She had still not gone to the first floor. So on the first floor, all rooms were enveloped in, covered in a complete darkness. But a saving fury came to her. She would not yield to groundless fear. She said, while taking the flight of stairs, she felt as if she was going to cry. But then she said, no, I am not going to cry. I am confident. I am going to the first floor. I am switching on the lights. Nothing will happen. She was in terror of, she called it burglars now. But actually it was of them, the unknown men. Women are taught to fear as dangerous. She thought, okay, now you can say if she was afraid of something, it must be robbers. They must be dacoits. They must be, burglars. She must be afraid of those people. She was not there for the last 15 days. Her husband was also not there. The house was empty. Nobody was living. Nobody was living there. So some burglar might have entered. Absurd, Connie told herself. She got a suitcase and started for the stairs. It was deep night now. If she looked out at the garage, for example, she would see nothing. Completely dark outside. She climbed the stairs into the darkness. Nothing happened. She pressed a switch. The passageway on both side rooms were there. So passage, that passage, you know, that that sprang into light. The moment she switched on the lights, they worked. The entire space was lighted. She breathed again. She went into Tom's and her bedroom. There was dust on the dressing table because it had not been dusted for the last 15 days. So a coat of dust had settled on the dressing table. There was an ashtray. Ashtray, those who smoke cigarettes, they put the dust into, they put the ash into the ashtray. She put down the suitcase and was conscious of bravery because she was very angry. Then she saw cigarette ends on the rug. Here, you know, the twist begins. When she looked here and there, she saw some cigarette ends. Cigarette ends are called butts, B-U-T-T-S. Some butts lying, last parts of the end parts of cigarette, which people throw away. They were lying on the carpet. Burnt place, some places had burnt also. Places on the carpet, they had burnt. Someone had sat there in the bedroom, smoking and carelessly dropping the cigarette ends on the rug and crossing them out. So, you must have seen, to extinguish the cigarette, burning cigarette. People cross them, they walk on them, they tread on them with their shoes, they cross it. So, ki what is a bed upare khali basini? Somebody has smoked cigarettes and thrown the butts. जो बटटा पकेछि perhaps he has not been very careful से बट रे निया लागिछि आ सेटा तळे टिके टिके पड़ी जाइथिबो आ तापर से चकटिछि जोता पिंदिके. Connie stood with every muscle in her body turned into stone. So she felt frigid, as if frozen. With fear, she was not able to move. So now there was proof that somebody had entered her house. Connie stood with every muscle in her body turned to stone. A part of Connie's brain directed her eyes again to the bed. Someone had sat on it, only sat, and smoked at leisure. But a corner of the bedclothes was pulled aside. What was under the bed? She found herself backing away from it. She was still fearful. Now she has the proof that somebody had come inside. So if he had come inside and sat on the bed, there is possibility that he might be hiding under the bed. So the moment she thought of looking, under the bed, if somebody was hiding there, she felt extremely nervous. Huh? So what was under the bed? She found herself backing away from it. No, she didn't have the courage to look there. And she bumped into a chair and fell over. The noise made her freeze. My God, if there is so much noise, this noise must have attracted the attention of the intruder. INTRUDER. Who is an intruder? A person who illegally, without taking permission, enters into your house. For example, a thief, a person who wants to commit a crime, he comes to your house, but nothing happened. There was no change in the friendly hum of the refrigerator downstairs. No reaction to the sound of fallen chair, which seemed incredible. She could not believe. She had thought somebody is hiding under the bed. I am sure. And now that this chair has fallen and it has caused a lot of noise, somebody is going to come out from there. Apprehending, being apprehensive, feeling that I might do him some harm, he might come out. If one of them, the nameless things of which she was in terror now, was under the bed, he would come out at the noise. So obviously, if a thief was hiding there, he would certainly come out. So he was thinking like this, but nothing of this sort happened. Presently, her breathing loud in her own ears. When you are nervous, tense, you breathe very heavily. So now she could hear her breathing. Connie bent and looked under the bed. She had to. None of them was there, of course, but there was an object which was strange. So under the bed, nobody was hiding. But there was something that attracted her attention. So this was the second part. We shall have another video very soon.